Good evening, one and all. We welcome you to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022 on occasion of World Social Work Month, World Health Month, World Press Freedom Month 2022. Commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Arts, Sciences and Well-being. We welcome you all once again to the international webinar series. Before we start our session, let's take the blessings from Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue to invite our speaker for the day. Today we have with us Dr. Maria Fatima Josephine. She is special educator, psychologist, parent of a special child, and special educator, and also a psychologist with a master's in psychology, master's in counseling and psychotherapy, and she has also doctorate in special education. She traveled to more than 30 countries, has visited many centers for special education, and worked as various capacities and positions in India and abroad. She was associated with Rotary and Lions Club for various programs and camps, and dedicated her life to special children, being a parent of special child. We welcome you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. Thanks for accepting our invitation and joining us. Uh, you can unmute yourself, you start your audio, video, share your presentation. We welcome you once again to the International Webinar Series.
A very good evening to all the participants here. I'm indeed very happy to have been invited to this great, wonderful webinar, which has been extending for more than a month, I heard, right from the month of March. It's a webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development for the year 2022. Sir, it's a great honor for me to be invited here on this platform and to share a very small part of the life of the disabled or what is happening with the differently abled. And I'm really very happy because I've not come to know about your organization until about a few days ago. That your organization is into a wonderful empowerment kind of a program, which is Sri Research Institute and Center for Arts, Science and Well-being. It's a wonderful initiative, sir. I'm really once again greatly honored, Dr. Ravindra, for this opportunity you have provided to me. And at the onset itself, I would like to even thank Mary Florence, who had invited me. Never for a moment I thought that today I will be in the midst of you all to share a little bit of my experience. Mainly, I chose this topic, which is very close to my heart because that is what we are all striving for today. Sir, your organization is very aptly into this thing about art, science, and the well-being, and it's a holistic health approach on the basis of the differently abled or the children of with disability. I would like to say that my daughter had brain fever. So when we are talking about the well-being and the holistic approach to health, I do not know what had happened long time back. Today she is 46 years old, and she had this brain fever when she was just about 5 months old, and that is what had created this diagnosis for her, which is called cerebral palsy. And it is a diagnosis, it's an umbrella term. And one of her disability, as you say, is like due to that, she has cerebral palsy, spastic right hemiplegia. It may be a technical term, but in layman's term, I can simply say that she is unable to use her right side. Thank God, with all the therapy and everything that was provided to her from that early age, only after I became a special educator, that she can make use of her lower limbs, that she can walk, she can dance, and of course, she can even run. And I will tell about her at my later talk. But what I'm trying to say is like the well-being of these children or the well-being of the society or the health in a holistic way is the key word or the main word that is in our society today. So I'm happy to present, and as I told you, my keen interest or one of my desires is to how to integrate our children and how to bring about an inclusion in the society, a time when they are not even being accepted just because of their disability. Sir, I would like to start my screen sharing. Maybe I'll just try out how it is going to come out. Yeah, it's here. Uh, can I be, I mean, is my screen seen over there? Can I have a feedback?
First
Oh,
slide,
yes.
imperative need for
Need for
inclusion.
inclusion, yeah. See, actually, I'm talking about the need for inclusion in the education sector. See, to see the scenario, I mean, being in social work, I heard that many people are here with social work background, and the former speakers who have been speaking on various topics, it is very, very interesting to know that everyone had contributed to your webinar for all these days, and they are, most of them are professionals into the field of education, into social work as well as in psychology and in so many varied fields. So I think it is not going to be a new topic when I talk about the need for inclusion for the differently able in the education sector. To just highlight a few things before I go into my very, I wouldn't say technical, but just a highlight on a few aspects that we are being facing today. Before I launch into that, I just want to say that today the education of the special needs are coming under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. But what would be much better for them to be included in the society will have to start from education. So we would be very happy if we are included in the Ministry of Education and the health sector also. So to start with, uh, I just want to highlight on the need for the inclusion in the education sector. See, as every mother, like even me being a parent, when I had my child, and then when she had this brain fever and this cerebral palsy diagnosis, the first thing that we always thought was my child should go to a school. This is where every parent lands up. They want an education for the child. In that early years, though we are worried about like, how she can walk, how she can talk, how she can, do her daily activities. But the main thing that is underlying in the mind of the parents are they should have an education. So to talk about that education, we need a kind of an inclusive setup, which means that we want everyone to be part of this education, irrespective of who they are, what the diagnosis is. Today we are branded, or our children are branded because of our diagnosis, and they are told that you cannot do much. Many parents have put their child in the school with a great expectation that the child should learn. But what has happened there is they are being told straight to the face, your child is not fit for this so called normal education. So it is a great shock for us. I just want to say a few words here that when I wanted to admit my child, she was able to walk. We did all the therapy and everything, and she was able to walk by the age of 2.5, but she was not speaking. So I thought, okay, fine, she can still go to a school. But when I went there to the school where I studied, so many years ago in the year, maybe I don't remember, uh, and at that time, the principal, as soon as she saw my child, she said, we cannot admit her. Because she was drooling. Some of our children with cerebral palsy, they will have a loss of, not loss, they won't have proper function in the facial muscle as well. They cannot swallow, so they will be sometimes drooling. And the moment she saw my daughter, beautiful, lovely, fair, curly haired baby, and they said no, we cannot admit her because she has drooling and she's not looking the same as other children. The parents may not like it, so that their children should will be having some inhibition to be moving with her. She was just a 3-year-old child, and there itself we were feeling rejection. So over my years I found that today we want them to be accepted. That is why I said this topic of inclusion is very dear to my heart. This is what I'm fighting for as an advocacy for the children with all kinds of disability. So the concept of inclusion is nothing new. What we are seeing here is that these people is not a new concept, and it is it has evolved over the years. First they were saying it is mainstreaming, then they said integration, then they said normalization and least restrictive environment, then they said it is deinstitutionalization and regular education initiative. Now just to highlight what is normalization, of no fault of theirs, our children have got this diagnosis and they have some form of outward manifestation of the disability, and they are being termed as not normal. And according to one gentleman called Wolfensberg from US, though he is a German, he's no more, he's late Mr. Wolfensberg, and another gentleman called Nirche from Norway, they were all into what is known as normalization. Because the disability is no fault of theirs, why should they be denied the so-called normal life as you and me would lead? When we have to go to school, we go to the so-called nearby school. Then we go to a college. Then we are treated as one in the family. And we all have to have the same experience as any other so-called normal human being. So that philosophy of normalization came into being. And then they said that the child with who is differently able should go into the same kind of a classroom, and they should not have any other restrictive environment there, and they should be able to move around, and they should be able to learn in a very, very unrestrictive or the least restrictive environment. Then this great thing came about after normalization. Actually, the philosophy of normalization, though it was introduced way back in the 1980s itself, there was a law that was passed in most of the Western countries where they said there should be no institutionalization anymore. There should be they should have the same life as you and me, as I told you. So how do we live today? We live as a family. So there are not more than 5 to 6 or 10 people in a family, right? But today it is more of a nuclear family. It is just the husband and wife and the child. But what happens is we live as a family, and in those days they had all these children put up in an institution. And institution and is a big place where they will have no privacy. They will be just like put in one big hall, and they will be treated as in a group as such. So there was a law passed in the year 2000, I mean before 2000, and they said that before 2000, the year 2000, all the institution that was functioning as an institution, they should close down and they should be like a small group home or like a community. And then these children should be provided education in the so-called normal school itself. Why I'm saying so-called normal school is like we are the ones who are creating what is normal and what is abnormal. But then these children may be having certain difficulties in walking, maybe in speaking, in thinking, in their cognition, whatever it may be, they should also be getting the same regular education. Now, seeing individual differences, it should not be seen as individual differences, not as a problem to be fixed, but as opportunity for enriching learning. What is our society trying to do today? With every child in the society, he should have a learning experience, and that should be an enriching learning experience. Isn't that what we are all striving for? But then, if they have differences also, do not look at the differences as something that you have to fix it. See, in those days, we had the medical model of the children with disability. They thought it was a disease, and by giving some medication or giving some treatment, they can be, made all right, and they can, have access to everything in their life. So they thought that it can be fixed, and they can be sent back to the schools or wherever they have to go. So let us not look at a disability as a disease. It is a condition. It is a condition that exists lifelong for them. So it is not something that you can fix it, like make them walk, make them talk, and then put them into a education as such. So don't think of our children that it's a problem, they can be fixed. If it is a machine, you can fix something and you can make it running. But in this case, it's a condition. So how do we help them out? So what we see here is inclusive education is a process that involves the transformation of schools and other centers of learning to cater for all children, even if it is girls or boys, and students from ethnic or linguistic minorities, rural population, even those children affected with HIV or AIDS, and those with difficulties and disabilities in learning, and to provide learning opportunities for all youth and adults as well. See, this is the main idea behind inclusion, that everyone, irrespective of the disability, should have the same kind of opportunities in learning, and the opportunities should be for everyone, irrespective of who they are. And it aims to eliminate exclusion that is a consequence of, see, first and foremost, it is negative attitudes. Isn't it prevailing even today? What is our attitude towards the person with disability? Most of the time, they are ignored. Most of the time, they are looked down upon. So all these things will definitely, lower the self-esteem of the child. Is all because of our negative attitudes towards them. And the lack of response to diversity in race. We think that all human beings are one race and without any deformity or without any disability. So what is the response today is, we think that they should be secluded from the society. And some people are secluded or excluded because of the economic status. Are we not seeing the difference in the society today? The rich class and the poor class and the middle class, and also our ethnicity. Maybe we don't see it here, but we see it here because of the caste that we're having. Even every day we are seeing some news or reading some news where there has been, killings, where the brothers, the family, they have cleanly murdered their own sister or brothers or whoever it is. So here we are having the discrimination of the caste system. Then we also have the language. Then we have religion. Isn't that dividing us today so much? And then we have the gender inequality and sexual orientation, which is really coming up. It has come to the open about the sexual orientation also, and of course the ability. So when we are talking about examples of excluded or the vulnerable groups are abused children, child laborers, migrants, ethnic minorities, children in conflict zone. What is happening today in Ukraine and in so many other countries where there is a definite kind of a conflicts going on. So these are the example of some of the differences we find and the exclusion we are finding. Inclusive education is not a marginal issue, but it is central to the achievement of high quality education for all learners and the development of more inclusive societies. Inclusive education is essential to achieve social equity and is a constant element of a lifelong learning. So, when we talk about once again inclusive education, it is definitely going to enhance the life of the individual as well as the society. It is all interlinked, isn't it? So we used to say, like, if you could uh, go into the life of the individual and see what is happening at that early years itself, it will definitely even have a economic impact in the society also. The more you neglect the child, the mortality rate, the morbidity rate when they are young, then in that case what happens is you have to give in more input for a child with disability because he is not able to learn, because he is not able to move. Thereby there is a lot of expenditure going on into the helping the child to develop. But if you can have an early intervention, if you can detect the disability as early as possible, then definitely that will be productive for the family, for the child, and also for the society. So inclusive education, it is not only a marginal issue, but is central to the achievement of high quality of education. And for decades, we have seen the education system as either disregarded or struggled with the idea of integrating children with disabilities in mainstream schools. With a rights-based approach, inclusive education becomes a powerful tool to create just and equitable societies. See, UNESCO in the year 2019 itself, it implemented, or even before that, in 2016 itself, they brought about United Nations Conventions for the Rights of the Persons with Disability in 2016, and India was the first signatory to sign in that convention, and they agreed upon that they will have an inclusive setup or inclusive education provided to a person with disability. So what we are aiming at is an equitable society. Today you can hear many news about those kind of children being really integrated, but I'll come to that later about what is the reality today. Why is the need for inclusion very crucial? The incidence of disabilities are increasing. To tell a little about me, you'll have just heard our great Dr. Ravindra give a small introduction about me. And one is my 40 years or 4 decades of my involvement with children with disability and also with the education and all kinds of their developmental aspects. Now, I have seen 40 years ago, I had not come across so many children with autism spectrum disorder or autism. I have not come across most children with learning disability. I have not come across children with having ADHD or attention deficit hyperactive disorder. But today, every third child I'm seeing, even last week, I had a child coming to me with ASD, that is autism spectrum disorder. A few weeks before, again another child was brought to me, a 3-year-old child, who I suspect is definitely having autism spectrum disorder. So I'm seeing an incidence of increase or increase in the incidence of disabilities. And when compared to the number, there are no proper statistics today. But I can say, like, from that time, from many years ago, they keep saying that the incidence of disability is about 2% in the world uh, statistics. So there is definitely an increase. I myself am seeing it day in and day out. And when compared to the number of children, are we having enough trained and qualified professionals? I would say the number is almost even not even one third. Very sad situation. Still, our country is not concentrating on prevention of disability. Infant mortality rate is very high compared to other developing countries. Even 2 days ago, I saw statistics, or some time ago, I even saw statistics where they said that the morbidity rate is on the increase, and it is even higher than Bangladesh. Imagine, we always say that Bangladesh is a developing country, but even we were equated as a developing country. But why are we standing lesser in that or higher in the morbidity rate? And see, one of the increase in the morbidity rate is because of the technology. In those days, if the child had complication during delivery, the child, usually dies. But then today they are trying to save the child. But what happens is, it's good. Life is important. We have to save the child, the newborn baby. But then what has happened is the technology, the high input of technology, we are able to save the child. But then the damage to the brain has happened because most of these disability, even for instance, if it is autism spectrum disorder, or if it is cerebral palsy, or if it is intellectual disability, the medical causes are so is there, and it's always a neurological damage. So this is why we think that it is very crucial. We need to have inclusion set up as early as possible. Then again, continuing with why the need for inclusion is very crucial is we need early identification and early intervention. That was my main study when I did my doctorate, because I was concerned about early identification and early intervention. Just to, highlight a few points. All of you all know that the critical period of development in any child's life is between 0 to 2 years. A child, when it's born, does not start walking immediately, does not start speaking immediately. It kind of takes within 2 years, it has achieved most of its motor development, cognition development, socialization, and also language development. All this is happening not in compartments but in cohesive or rather together within the 0 to 2 years. But then there is no early identification till today. Though we have scales and though we have so many things for us to identify the child, but still the child is not identified and the intervention is not done at the early stage. They come to us at a very later stage, and it is very difficult for us to help the child to overcome his disabilities, because the maturation of the brain has occurred and the child has developed, in that crucial period of development, that is 0 to 2. And when they bring the child to us, the child is almost 5 years or 6 years or 10 years. And sometimes I've seen children being brought to me when they were about 15, 16 also. So it is very crucial that we need to have inclusion, and for that we need to have early identification and intervention. And there is no central monitoring of the curriculum. Whatever I am presenting here is from my own experiences, what I faced during the 40 years of my work with these children and the organizations. So there is no central monitoring of what is happening, though the law, like the UNCPRD law, the acts of a Disability Act in India, everything is around the child with difficulty. We do not have any proper monitoring of what is happening in the inclusive schools and the type of programs or assessments being used. Why do we need an assessment? You see, just as you have a curriculum for a grade 1 child or grade 10 child, there is a curriculum, There is a CBSE standard, or there is a ICSE standard, or you can have a matriculation standard, whatever it may be. But they do have a curriculum, and they have an inspection team where they will go into the schools to see what is happening in each of these schools and what is being taught to them. And then you have the examination system to rate them and to put them into their live stream. Now we have NEET, and we have so many other things where the child has to perform well and has to achieve something in life. But here, with these children with difficulties, is there a central monitoring system? And what are these inclusive schools doing? In most schools, we don't even have properly trained teachers. Are the teachers and special educators have the necessary qualification to handle different disabilities, namely learning disability, autism spectrum disorder, as I just mentioned, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, visual impairment, hearing impairment, and intellectual impairment? So I just mentioned to you about the UNICEF report and the status of disability in 2000, and that there are around 30 million children in India suffering from some form of disability. And I don't want to go into very technical terms, but just to give you a gist about the population, what is happening on the other side. See, being into special education, and I'm addressing all professors and doctors and people in a high level of profession and education, but I usually say, like, you have to see what is happening on the other side. We are on the opposite side of the intelligence. Our children are not having the so-called IQ, maybe. But then, just to give you a small gist, an opening, or to open your eyes of what is happening around us, the 6th All India Educational Survey, this is a long, old report, that India's 200 million school-age children between the ages of 6 to 14 years and 20 million require special needs education. Isn't that a huge, staggering number? While the national average for gross enrollment in schools is over 90%, less than 5% of children with disabilities are in school. Can anyone tell me, like, in your neighborhood, or in the, wherever, whichever city you're living in, have you come across these children? How many special schools are there? What is happening to the children? This is just a small, survey that I was able to get, and we are seeing, like, there is a difference in the rural and the urban sectors also. So again, there is a huge gap between the rural population and the urban population, especially when it comes to the disability. Now, measures initiated by government and other NGOs is evolving policy guidelines. Of course, many things are happening. Many laws have come into place. Many acts have come into place. But again, what is happening? So they are analyzing the practices, developing teacher training program, creating resources, persons, and special teachers. See, I'm a special educator, and we have to be licensed, or given a certification that we come under the Rehabilitation Council of India. Just as the doctors have, the medical professional have the MCI registration, even we need to have the RCI, which is similar to an UGC, which regulates the teacher education where it is concerned with the person with disability. So we have teachers education in special education pertaining to autism, pertaining to cerebral palsy, pertaining to hearing impairment, pertaining to visual impairment, and many other disabilities today. So the policies are there, the NGOs are there, but again, the central monitoring, though it is done by, though it is done by the government, and so many other acts are there, still you can see there is a great lacuna. And the education of the disabled children, I don't want to go into all this. As I told you, there are so many laws that has been coming, and the final thing was the rights of the person with disability. Okay, so all these are in place. And again, many acts have been put into action. The Equal Opportunities and Rights of Persons with Disability Act, and all these things are there, and we still have many other things being implemented over the years. So the schools with inclusive orientation are the most effective means of combating discriminatory attitudes, building an inclusive society, and achieving education for all. Isn't this what RTI talks about? Today, according to the RTE Act, that is Right to Education Act, 25% of the children, whoever they are, from the lower economic strata or with disability, should be given an admission in the normal schools. But again, I just want to say a few incidences here, because some of my um, parents, some of the experiences they have told is, with great difficulty they would have put the child in an inclusive school, and what has happened is, uh, you know we have this system where the child has to be promoted right up to grade 6 without any failures. So this particular child, the mother was also a special educator, and actually she was trained by me also. And what happened was, this child was going to a particular school. The mother was also working in that inclusive, so-called inclusive school. But when the child came to grade 9, and when she had to be promoted to grade 10, what had happened was, the principal called the mother and said, "You have to take your child away, because the school will not achieve 100% pass percentage, because if your child fails in this government exam, then the school will lose its, the top place in the state or the district." See, this is what happens. They welcome us in the early stages, because at that time they are not worried. But when it comes to the 100% pass of the schools, then we are the first person to be chucked out. So I even told the mother, "Come on, let's go to the court." But you know what? The mother was not willing, because again, she will be discriminated. She won't be able to go to any other schools also later on, because they will think that she is a problem creating mother. See, this is what we are branded. When we have to stand for the rights of our child, or stand for the rights of all these children, when we are advocates for their rights and their, place in the society, we are also branded as troublemakers, or they say, like, no, even the mother is always creating problems, so we don't want the child and neither the parent in the school. So where do we stand? These are, I can tell you hundreds of examples like this, where we are not included in, even in an inclusive school. And for that reason alone, what I say is, instead of us being, discriminated, we are wanting to help the child even from the early years. So, early childhood care and education. See, this is again by the government, and they say that it will help in the development of the child through group socialization, inculcation of healthy habits. So here, sir, your organization is all about healthy, holistic health and well-being and everything. So we have to even educate our young mothers, and even the college going women or men also, boys also, like how important it is that we produce a healthy society, because there are lack of awareness on prevention of disability. How many of us know that even the simple thing about testing the blood? In our country, we have this thing of, when they have to get married, they have the horoscope matching. They will think about, like, this, this star and this position of the star was very important for matchmaking and all that. But we are not even thinking about, will the bloods match? In Western countries, before getting married and before, when they have to apply for a marriage license, they have to go in for a blood test. And there is a factor called Rh negative, which can be quite damaging to the child that is born to a mother who is Rh negative and a father who is a positive. See, I don't want to go into all these medical things, but our society, our students, when they are in the school itself, whether it's a girl or a boy, they have to be educated on the prevention of disability. Isn't this important? Don't you think it's important that this education or this thing about having an awareness on how to prevent disability will not be even taking us to this topic of inclusion, because we will be educating them even at that very young age and inculcating healthy habits. See, for instance, we are talking about alcoholism. And in Western countries, the girls and the women, they all smoke, they drink, and everything. And it has an adverse effect on the baby that is forming in the womb of the mother. And they say, like, it's not because of the father. But then, let me tell you, even in some cases, like, it changes so much of things, even if the father is alcoholic. And it can even, he will be the cause for giving birth to a child with disability. When we talk about all these things, there are so many things we have to even educate the people from a very young age. You may think that I'm, diverting on my topic, but then every talk or every topic, that is in when it comes to the differently able, will definitely go much deeper in my talks as such, because it is all connected with the early years of the child, even when the child is being formed in the womb, because either the causes are hereditary or environmental. But we won't go so much into hereditary part of it. But when it comes to environmental, it is mainly the health of the mother, the young father, and everything pertains to inclusion. That is what I would say. Like, so stimulation or creative learning processes, and also the overall personality development. Isn't that also important? Because now I'm sure there are many people here who are into psychology, into social work, and definitely you all would have touched this important aspect of the development, personality development, the emotional development in a child, the physical development, and also the intellectual development. All these play a major part in the life of the child and also in the society. So ultimately it is inclusion, right? It is a kind of paving way for the inclusion. Then we are talking about like 5 dimensions to influence the teaching and learning process in order to understand and monitor and improve the quality of education. It is not only the learning of the person with who are differently able, but also in general itself we can say the learner's characteristics is important, the context is important, and we have to have enabling inputs and teaching and learning and also outcomes. So every thing is based on the education, and that education, whether it is for a child with difficulty, or whether the so-called child who's normal, but ultimately all these together is the stepping stone for inclusion in our society and for the change in our society. So I just would like to say a few more things, and I don't want to go too much into the technical aspect as I told you, but today carrying out local situation analysis on the scope of the issue, available resources, and the utilization in support of inclusion and inclusive education. Very few schools are there that is giving inclusive education. When they talk about inclusion, they give a watered down curriculum. I had been actually asked to head an institution which was an inclusive school, and they wanted me to, you know, be the director of that inclusive thing which is for the differently able. But when I went into the reports and when I went into all the records about each child, I found that they were not given the right thing. I'm not blaming anyone here. Please do not think that I'm criticizing anyone or blaming anyone for what is happening in the society. But from my own experience only, I'm speaking today and I'm sharing my experiences, because what I found was when it comes to inclusive education, they think that if they have to teach a child who is in the fifth standard level, if they give a watered down curriculum, that is just giving them simple question and answers, preparing them to answer the thing. So it is actually, it's like a rote learning or a parrot learning, but there is no understanding, or there is nothing that is given as an input for the child to understand and learn. So we are not helping at all. When we talk about inclusive education, what should that prepare a person for to face the challenges in the society? So we have to be very careful when we are saying, okay, we have an inclusive society today, we have formed all these acts and regulations and everything, but what is happening deep down? Nothing much is happening. So mobilizing opinion on the right to education for everybody, and for that it is change of our attitude. Unless the so-called normal children are able to accept our children with a difficulty, change is not going to happen, inclusion is not going to happen. So building a consensus around the concept of inclusive and quality education, reforming legislation to support inclusive education in line with the international conventions and declarations and recommendations. And once again, I just want to skip all these things, because what I'm ultimately trying to say is we need you. We need an attitudinal change in our society. We need people like you who are, thinking in the same plane as us, in providing a good education for our children, in providing acceptance of our children is what we are looking for today. So supporting local capacity building to promote development towards inclusive education, developing ways to measure the impact of inclusive and quality of education. See, if anyone out there whom I'm addressing today, our policymakers, bring this out. Tell in your community, like, how important it is to have an inclusive education, or to bring about inclusion in our society or in our country. Then helping teachers to understand the role in education, and diversity in the classroom is an opportunity and it is not. Um, I don't want to once again go deep into it, but I'm just presenting my own thoughts here. The plan of action, first of all, attitudinal change is what we want. That we want an inclusion through early childhood care and education, inclusive curricula, teachers and teacher education, and resources for the teachers. So, the global education agenda for 2030 is, saying so many things. I can share my slides if anyone is really interested in knowing much more about it. And we have to monitor the participation, the progress in terms of attainment levels. See, in the so-called normal school, we have examinations and they can see the progress and they can see what is happening to the child. But here, where is the progress? What is happening with most of our children who are differently abled is they are divided into compartments. So if a child is having problems in walking, then they go to a physiotherapist. If they have problems in speaking, they go to a speech therapist. And if they have certain sensory issues, like most of our children with autism spectrum disorder do have sensory issues, so they are sent to an occupational therapist. And if they are having intellectual disability, then they say go to a special school. But does development happen like that? Can inclusion happen like that? All of them are still in our country, as far as I know, following a multidisciplinary approach, which is the child is taken from place to place, from physiotherapist to occupational therapist to speech therapist, and they go to all therapists, and the mother or father is just, from morning till evening, is just taking the child from one clinic to the other. But then, as I told you, the development doesn't happen like that. The inclusion also will not happen like that. So it is very, very difficult when we talk about inclusion of the differently able. So we have to have an interdisciplinary approach where the child is in the center. All the therapists will come together towards the child and say like, okay, the child is not able to write. So in that case, who will be helping us? Even the physiotherapist has to help us. They have to put the child in the right position. They have to put the child in the right kind of environment. Like, whether the child can write while sitting. If he's a child with cerebral palsy, what is his posture? What is the difficulty he has in even sitting himself straight? So when I was abroad to so many countries, as I was mentioned here, education of a child with disability is entirely different from what is happening here. One time I walked into a school in UK while I was doing my studies there, and one child was just sitting. I knew he was a child with cerebral palsy because he was sitting in a kind of a wheelchair. But then I'm hearing this synthesized voice from this from the computer, telling me, "Good morning, lady from India." But then, I didn't see the fingers or the hands of the child moving across the keyboard. No. What they had done was, he had no neck control, and the seating was in such a way that, his head was always going like this. He had no control over his neck also, and he was operating a switch or the keyboard that was attached on his headrest. So while he was moving his head in a particular way, he was able to communicate to me. So I was so surprised and shocked, and I said, "How is the child able to communicate?" He was non-verbal, and he was totally physically disabled also. But here, what had happened is the technology had helped him to communicate. Where are we today? Where there is technology today, and there are so many things that gadgets have come up, like Avas, where the child can communicate. But otherwise, we are still far behind. So in inclusion, then I came to know that this child was even going to write his Oxford examination in mathematics, and he was just about 13 years old. So that kind of thing has to happen when it is inclusion. So here we are still struggling with accessibility. Can I take my child? Because when I'm talking about my child, I'm talking about so many children. When they were babies, they had to be carried. Even I had to carry my child for a physiotherapy or for intervention programs nearly 30 kilometers away from my home. And even till today, can we get into a bus? If you're a wheelchair person, or even if you're walking with crutches, or if someone who can not walk at all. I know of so many of my students who had come to me when they were small babies. Today they have grown up, and one boy is even a lawyer. He has done his BL. He has even registered in the bar, the lawyers. They have bar council. So he is not getting a job. He is not able to even, he had passed his exam using a Skype. Well and good. But then, how can he even go and present his case in a court, because he cannot communicate so well, and he has a lot of problem in speaking, and we cannot understand him that well. So, what can help the child to be integrated or to be included in the society? I know of so many of my other students also who had come to me when they were very young. Some of them have passed a degree, some of them have got diplomas, but they are not getting a job because most of them are not even able to get out of the house. So where is the accessibility for them? Today, the government has brought in so many concessions, so many, help for us. They give 1,500 or 1,000 rupees each state. It varies what is the support they are giving for the person with a disability. But then accessibility is still a problem. In what way can we be helped? So where is inclusion going to happen when we are still so low in our technology to help them, though we are so high in all our implementations and everything, but still basically what is the basic amenities when we are talking about it, we still have difficulty in accessibility. Provide transportation facilities to children with disabilities. Also the attendant of the child with disability. See, when I was in Canada, I lived in Canada for more than 8 years. There, you will have each district will have their own, transport system. So they will come right to the front of our house in case the child has to be wheelchair bound. There is only one driver, there is no conductor, there is no attendant, no one. The vehicle will come, the driver will get down, just he will put down the ramp, and he will help the wheelchair to be taken inside the bus, because everything is supportive for the person. So then he locks the wheelchair to the bottom of the bus. There is a leverage, he just attaches it, and then he goes and they just get down wherever they have to, and again picked up. Just a phone call, they have to make a phone call and say, like, pick me up. And what is the price of the ticket? It's the same price as for you and me. It was 2.50 if they have to go. And even the escort is given the same thing. But today, our Chief Minister in Tamil Nadu has made it free for all the differently able, free for the women. Of course, it is going to help. But then there are so many others who cannot be helped at all, because our transportation system is still not coming to the help of a person with challenges. So many things we have to provide when we have to talk about inclusion. It is not only the transportation, it is individualized and otherwise environment that maximizes academic and social development consistent with the goal of full inclusion. And though we have 5% that is in the job sector, that every organization, especially government organization, before it was 3% as a quota, but now we have 5%. But again, who gets the job? Again, there is a kind of a entry level. They'll say, like, you must have this much of education, you must have passed your 10th standard, or you must have passed this much and that much, and you should be in a position to do this work. So again, those, the quota is there are concessions are there, but still can all be helped? That is the biggest question. So once again, ensure that the education to persons who are blind, visually challenged or hearing impaired, that appropriate gadgets and models and appropriate language inputs are given and for their communication. And especially when it comes to specific learning disabilities, India is a country of many languages. More than 200 dialects are there. But then we have testing materials only in English. Still they are developing in Tamil, and still we need to develop how to assess a child with learning disability according to their mother tongue or according to the language that is spoken. So you cannot do an assessment using a foreign language for the child. And then how do you teach the child? How do you find out all these difficulties in them? So there are many things that needs to be done at the bottom level before we talk about the inclusion. Inclusion is there as laws and by acts and everything, but does it match? It is not matching. It is all here, and we are expecting the child to come on. It's a very, very difficult situation. So there are certain things I've recommended here. I don't want to go into all those things in detail. So I would just like to pass on these recommendations if anyone is interested to know about it, and in their own way if they can do something. Here I've just given my own experiences which I had done. See, today education is special education or even the inclusive education is provided mainly in the cities. What is happening to the people in the rural sector? So when I had done my special education, I felt the need of community-based rehabilitation. In those days, way back in the 90s, what I did was I was almost fighting with the government of Tamil Nadu and saying, like, they have everywhere in India. I think even whoever is listening to my talk today, you all may come from different states. everywhere we have primary health centers. Why not each primary center, not only for the medical intervention, why not we have something where the um, center can have an early detection or some kind of a early intervention center in their PHCs. So with that in mind, what I did was I did many things, like when I'm not blowing my own horn, I'm just giving here as whatever I experienced and whatever I felt because of my experiences as a pain of a mother. I did all these things like identifying early the high risk mothers also, and even the infants. I trained the Balwadis or Anganwadi teachers and the village health nurses in identifying, because there at each Anganwadi center you will be finding children of 3 to 6 years, and the other Anganwadi workers will be taking care of 0 to 6 3 years old child. So this is where I intervened. I gave them all the inputs of even to identify them. Then I developed a early childhood assessment scale and program. Then I was responsible for starting the first center in the north of Chennai. In those days it was Madras, and I'm talking about way back in 1989 itself. I had to fight with the organization that wanted me to work with them to start a center in North Madras, and I had established that, and also in all the rural places right up to Andhra border I had done. Because can you imagine a mother carrying a child all the way from some village near Andhra or the border of Tamil Nadu to bring the child to the city? It was highly impossible. So why not we take the education program and to bring about an inclusive society, take the program to where the child is. Now I heard there are many programs that have been set up where they have healthcare at the doorstep. So we can take this also to the doorstep of the parents. Then we have to create awareness and prevention of disability in schools and colleges, which I did on a war footing in those days. And I also introduced yoga for cerebral palsy parent support group. And here I would like to say that my daughter not only is a person with challenges with cerebral palsy, she had cancer. So again, it comes into the wellness or the well-being or the holistic health. Again, this is on the increase. I never for a moment thought that my daughter will be having cancer. And as part of Lions Club, I used to do a lot of cancer awareness in those days, but never for a moment imagine that my daughter will be having cancer. This was in 2012. Then by God's grace she has overcome it, and I used to still these days also I'm doing a lot on prevention of breast cancer, doing a lot of awareness programs, and both of us are invited to go and give talks on prevention of breast cancer. So I had done a lot of camps along with Dr. Shanta, the very renowned late Dr. Shanta from Adyar Cancer Institute. So there are many things I'm still doing. So if you need any support in prevention of cancer, like raising awareness and everything, I can still go out and do it for you. So I'm coming to the end of my talk. So I just want to say that we need you. We need all the people out there to support us. There are hundreds of children who are in need of your support, not monetary, not physical, nothing. We just want your attitudinal change. If inclusion has to happen, it is us who have to change our attitude and say we are there for you. So I've just concluded writing even a book on my story. It is journey of my daughter and myself, and that book will be published in the coming month. And again, my cry in that book, it is because my daughter cannot speak, and I am her voice. So the voice says to you all, accept us. Accept us as we are. If we need to be included as part of the society, who is the society? It is you and me who is the society. So we want to extend our hands to you all and request you all, like, if you come across any child with any kind of disability, go up to them, go up to the parents and ask them. We are there for you. Just that word, giving them a phone call, or being in touch with them and saying, like, wishing them for the birthday maybe, because our children are all alone in this society. The parents are also all alone because we do not have the support. Sometimes even the family is not there to support them. So our cry today is, accept us as we are. Just like, the beauty of a pearl is not seen when it is inside under the sea in a shell. Only when you bring up that pearl, and when that pearl is made into an ornament, you can see the beauty of the pearl in it. And unless we also bring up the child, wherever he or she is, in whatever condition the child is, in whatever the level of intelligence, whatever is the environment, whatever is the financial problem, all they need is like, hi, how are you? This is what we are expecting. So with this, I'm just closing my talk, and if there are any questions, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation.
So this is
I discussed a lot of programs and
Yeah.
problems, but yeah, these are very much evident. We are also come across a lot of things, but uh, what are the solutions? What do you think are the solutions for these problems?
I think I have put there in one of my slides is the solution is uh, we have to first of all create more awareness among our community on prevention. First of all, as I told you, like a stitch in time saves nine. In the same way, prevention can also help in these children being born also, because some of them are in the preventable causes. Next is the attitudinal change. So when we are going to the schools or colleges and giving them a talk on awareness and prevention, we can include this also. So, we put it in the mind at a very young age itself that it is uh, nothing difficult to accept any child with a disability, because as I told you, the acceptance comes, and only unless the attitudinal changes are there, acceptance will never come. And then early identification is something important. There are many programs that have come up, but I really do not know how it is being implemented in each state on early detection. This is a very important thing, because still today I'm seeing so many parents doctor shopping, taking the child from one therapist to the other, from one specialist to the other, finding a solution. They have to be told at a very early stage that this is a condition. It may have come because of some disease, like in my daughter's case, but not all the time it is a disease. It is a condition that will last the whole time with them. And so we have to educate the public, and then have conducive, inclusive schools. When we talk about inclusive schools, there are many schools around us. I know of many in Chennai, but as I told you, there is no central monitoring. Each school is having their own agenda. And though the government has regulated the teacher education under the Government of India Act, which comes under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, we have RCI, that is registration with the Rehabilitation Council of India. How many schools are employing people with RCI certification? And here, just like MCI, we have to renew our certification, like once in 5 years we have to renew our our rehabilitation certificate with RCI, and that is we have to attend at least regular CRE programs, that is continuous rehabilitation education programs, and we need to have 100 points and to renew it every 5 years. So 100 point is gained by attending conferences or attending the programs which are RCA certified again. So there are so many things that are in place. The government regulations are in place, but how many schools are adhering to it? There are some schools which are running even without a license these days. So where do our children stand if they have to be put in these schools? So there are many things like the solution. It is very difficult for me to pinpoint and say this is the solution, like tuck 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 1 2 3. But there are certain things we can still do. So I would be happy to be associated with you all in a long term also, like how can we go about, because your organization is about science and well-being and holistic health. So I think this is a good forum, this is a good platform where we can sit together and think about doing certain things in a very small way. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but it's a very big, it's an ocean. Any other questions?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. Very informative topic. I don't have doubts, but I gained lot of knowledge because I'm also with persons with disabilities. I'm working for Rotary Club.
Yeah.
There is only two people abled body. All my own president is visually challenged. Like I told you in the morning, my
Yeah.
best friend only is visually challenged, but he has achieved a lot. He's a deputy manager in State Bank of Mysore.
Okay.
Bangalore, and uh, I see more talent. What I say now, we are normal, but we are not using their talent to the fullest. But they have some disability, but they are using the talent to the fullest. That's what I get. I learned from the Rotary Club experience, and plus I learned from you a lot also because I personally what you say I saw in my Rotary Club because they have all achieved. We know we studied this much earned, this much, like we are happy, okay, this much we have achieved, but they're not like that. What more, what more, what next, what next? They're never satisfied. And especially my friend who's a deputy manager in State Bank, Nagraj, every day he thinks what I can do society, what I can do for others, what I can do. If anyone asks help, he never say no, even in the terms of finance. Even in the COVID time, pandemic time, everyone was going through finance. He never said no to anything. Okay, sir. Okay, we'll do it. Okay, we'll do it. Like it's a very positive note from them only. This coming positive note means how much we can do as normal persons. That makes me to realize every day when I go to Rotary Club, every weekend, it makes to what have I have done. I have normal, I have everything, I have education, but I'm not able to do like Nagraj. Why is that? What is why I'm not thinking in that way? It makes me feel guilty. So for me, your topic, your session is like really is very experienced because I'm also going through that experience. I really sometimes I get astonished now with the way they speak, the way they give talks, the way they present papers in the Rotary conference and all. Without seeing, they will use the braille and they will prepare PowerPoint. How they are doing, God knows. God is it's like a gifted child. So it's for me it is a very takeaway, ma'am, and all the best for your life and all the best for your next session. God bless you abundantly and your child also.
Are you all able to see my cover page of my book?
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay,
And
okay.
and
She's my daughter.
okay,
She's
okay,
my
beautiful,
daughter.
ma.
Yeah, and
Beautiful, madam. I'll definitely buy this book.
okay.
Actually,
It's not yet published. It is just going to the
yeah, you told
publisher.
me
Yeah,
yesterday
yeah,
night.
yeah.
I because I don't know to read Tamil, but my mother is any book she gets, she'll read. Is,
I'll be publishing, sorry, I'll be publishing in English also very soon. So
yeah, yeah,
then you all will get, see what
yeah.
you said is very true, Mary. I agree with you. See, our children, whether they are hearing impaired or even visually impaired, and you said most of you are
And
Rotarians
dude,
in your club.
they're not only means they're not doing simple jobs. One is deputy manager, one is senior associate in software company, one is branch manager in Kotak Mahindra, one is branch manager in Brand. They are touched top levels. Everyone is under them only.
Very good,
Normal
very
people
good.
are like, then I think we have everything, but we are not using the fullest. They don't have so much, but they whatever they have now they're using. So for me, more than other sessions, for me, I'm experiencing, no. So it is whatever you tell, no, 100%, no, 200%, I agree with you all the things. I don't have any doubts, because I know whatever you are telling from your mouth and your presentation is 100% true, because I'm experienced now. From last June, I joined Rotary Club till May. I have truly experienced. So I know what your daughter's going through also, because I have a person in my Rotary also who's go through the cerebral palsy, and she's the senior as a computer engineer. I don't know how she became, but her name is Asha, that girl. And today she's coming on the Karnataka Awards disability category, everything. So I
Very
know what you're
wonderful.
going through, as a mother, as a professional. I truly congratulate you, madam. Totally my hearty congratulations. Actually, for me, namaste from my side.
Thank you, thank you. See, Mary, I totally agree. As you said, they are achievers. See, my daughter is not highly educated or anything. We can give some basic education because of their, limitations. Not everyone can go to college, the hearing impaired or visually impaired, and even certain people with cerebral palsy, they have attained a lot in their life because their intelligence is high, and not everyone are like that. My daughter, I told you, in those days we did not have special school. She cannot speak, so they are multiple disabled, but then in her own way she has achieved. She is a national award winning dancer, and she is a 100 meters national
No,
gold
I'm
medalist.
actually no more than I do. I'm not seen your daughter, but it truly from my heart, she's an achiever, because I'm going
Yeah,
through
yeah,
that now. Because I see day in day out, my phone is full of the Rotary pictures only. Without seeing your daughter only, I know she's an achiever, because these people are multi talented. Not one talent; they have several talent. And the way they sing now, even the professional classical singer also won't sing like that.
yeah, the
How they
visually
know the
challenged have
talam,
that.
how they know the ragam, I don't know. But they sing excellently. They have special talents. We should be astonished. What we didn't learn this, what we didn't do effect, we feel guilty.
That is there, Mary. What I'm trying to say is whatever may be their difficulties or their abilities, we have to help them out in bringing it out and giving them the right opportunity. And what has happened, like in my daughter's case also, is like I had to struggle in those days to find out. And today there are other children, with autism spectrum disorder, who cannot talk, who cannot, some of them cannot even study. So there is a completely, even in this thing, there's a complete group of people who cannot go to work. See, my daughter can use only one hand, and with one hand, and having no speech also, and being a girl child, where can I send her for a job? So we parents have an additional, I wouldn't say burden, but additional responsibility of to create a future. She can draw, I mean, she can paint in a technique using one hand. She does a lot of art and craft activities, all using one hand. And most of the activities I've taught to some of my children is therapeutic. Even the dance that she learned was more therapeutic, because nowadays you have dance therapy and all that, music therapy. But in a day when there was nothing in the society, I took it up as a training for them.
Actually,
And
June 30th, we are having one special program, ma'am, in Rotary. in Bangalore, Achievers. I think so. I'll put your daughter or you in the panel because I definitely want to give your number to my president Arvind sir. He will definitely contact you and my assistant governor Nagaraj, because now I want to tell everyone what you do, because if we have some knowledge we should share. Then what, for what we are educated to share our knowledge with four people, not to keep it. We can be selfish in our money but not in our knowledge. So I definitely today only I put a word to my president and my assistant governor, and very soon they will contact you, and what help we can do from Rotary Bangalore abilities we can do for you, ma'am. That's my assurance for you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Sir, I don't want to take much of your time. And once again, a huge thank you for all those who are here today and who listen to my small this thing. And Mary, you have aptly very said, like, today I'm sitting in front of you all with only one main idea, or sorry, one concern is like I should share whatever experience I have gained to the society, and it is through my daughter. So we all had a big question, like, all parents have it, why my child, or why this or why that. But then the purpose of a life is being fulfilled these days. I think the purpose of a birth is to be a motivation and to inspire other parents out there, or inspire other parents that when she can overcome, and this is what y'all can do. That is what my book is also going to say, or which has already been written now. And one thing is, like, all of us should question ourselves, what is the purpose of our life on this earth? If you realize that, then your life is so fulfilling. So I thought, like, when my daughter was born, a beautiful child, but only at 5 months when she had this, the question came to me, like any other mothers, what is the purpose of my life and her life? And I know now that she is a blessing, she is my motivation, and she is my life. And this is what I want to give back to the society, because if we take something from the society, our biggest responsibility is we have to give it back to the society. So I'm here today not only sharing, and I'm also telling everyone out there who has listened to me, I'm there to help the society in any way that I can, though not monetarily, but with my experience, I can share in helping other children and parents out there. Thank you once again.
Actually, ma'am, I have done my research in NIMANS, and my research was on mental retardation. They say all these children are God gifted child and God special child. That's why God takes care of them, and I surely believe in it, because I have, whether I don't know, I have self confidence in it, but I have 200% trust in God. But whatever, every day when I sit more time, if I get free time, I devote to prayer, because I believe that God has made me to live for a purpose. So they in immense, when they teach about the special education, they tell that these children are God gifted child. So I remember that point, so I'm stressing today and telling you thank you very much.
Thank
My
you,
big
thank you, thank
namaste
you,
to
thank
you,
you.
ma'am. My
Thank you,
big
thank you, thank you, thank you. Dr. Ravindra, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to say here?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. And we really, from bottom of heart, appreciate the service you are contributing. Really, first thing is overcoming that our child is specially able, and accepting that and supporting her and standing for her. And not only that, you stood for the community, special children community. That gives greatest hope to the all the parents around, and also a great inspiration for even other community workers and health workers and professionals. So really, I have seen, because I was also closely associated with disabilities. I also seen many mothers who have especially did commendable work. Not even professionals have anywhere close to them. They have dedicated their entire lives and they stood. Even I know few cases where the father or the husbands were not supportive, and mothers left them also. I mean, to support the child. That kind of sacrifice, commitment, many mothers have taken. Really, there are no words to express. I mean, really, that's. I mean, I think that's how the mother is. I mean, the I mean, no, the compassion, the other name of compassion or other name of whatever we can say, God. Uh, so that kind of support you have been really giving. Definitely, your child is a blessed child, gifted child. Definitely, we need to support every such child, and you are always welcome, ma'am. This platform is open and created for such people only, because this is a platform, international platform, which we have set open for everyone who can come and share knowledge. That's why it's entirely free and it's open. We are inviting everyone to come and share knowledge so that we all can learn together. We are inviting you and your team also, your members who are working with you. Please join us, join our platform, and whatever we can do, we will definitely support you. And you can always join us, get back to us, and invite your other professionals or team members also to share experiences. We will invite more people, try to engage more so that we can create awareness, at least a preliminary awareness, so that they are not seen in a different way. They are accepted as they are, and let's support and whatever we can do so that they can blossom, they can bloom like every other human being, or with an individual with dignity, respect. So, thank you once again, ma'am, for your wonderful contribution, I would say, and I wish you all the success and God bless you with all the strength, support. We are always there for you, and whatever good initiatives you are looking forward, please, we are always there to support you. Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very encouraging. This is what we need when you say the word, we are there for you. It means very, very much. And on Monday, I've asked my friend Dr. Edward Fenech, Rotarian Dr. Edward Fenech from Malta. He will be giving his deliberations on learning disability, on dyslexia, and like he's also a wonderful person. He's been attending now with us, and I hope everything will be an eye opener, because the uh, the profession that we are in is definitely not exposed much to the people out there. So thank you very much for helping us to be here to present today. And you very aptly said, sir, it is not only the mothers. I have my husband, the fathers also, who are very good and who had been supporting us. And I thank you all once again. Thank you, Mary, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Ravindra, for this wonderful
I'm
session.
very honored to
Thank you,
invite
thank
you,
you.
ma'am. Actually, I am
Okay.
very honored to invite you because such a person having so much confidence. You are only going through problem, but you're thinking to help others. Now that is literally you, instead of praying to God, now you should do social work. We should not pray to God, sit hours to pray, but you can do the social work. In that social work, you can see God.
Yeah, yes.
I always tell my mother, Ma, you don't spend time in prayer. Do some good for others. Then you see God in the social work. That's what I'm doing 16 years. That's why I'm very proud, ma'am, that I brought you here. I'm very honored actually, more than you are. I'm
Thank you
very,
so
very
much,
honored
Mary.
because I have experience in my Rotary Club now. I feel like saluting you. That's
Thank you. Don't say such big words. We are here
no,
just
no, ma'am,
available.
because I feel very inspired with if I see some inspirational speaking. No, I want to tell. We should not tell bad, but it's always you tell the good of someone. We should not hide, because we should always appreciate. We should not be very stingy in us appreciating. Should give 100% appreciation to the person who does. I am like that. I'm a person who appreciates others more than I appreciate myself. That I'm a character like that.
I wish everyone are like that, thinking like you. So I don't know if I can play this thing here. 1 minute. Can you all see this?
Can still see the face cover of a book, ma'am.
Only the face cover, is it?
Yeah, I think that is photographer image file.
Now,
Ah,
can you all see?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That is my daughter. This was way back in 2004, and this was a performance she did for fundraising for the visually challenged. And you can see the visually challenged people there.
That's really nice. I mean, there is no cue that she is specially able. Such a wonderful child.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll enjoyed. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. It was really awesome
Thank you.
performance. God bless you and your child to
You
have
all,
more such performances.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Did you hear the sound? The song was played or not?
The song was, I mean, the volume was very low, but
Oh,
yeah.
oh, thank you. Anyways, I think we have come to the end, and I thought since we had a few minutes, I thought I would share that dance of us. Thank you so much once again, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for
Thank you.
joining us. And tomorrow we have a session because today is menstrual health hygiene day. Sorry. So we are organizing tomorrow international webinar on menstrual hygiene day.
Okay.
I invite you because actually we were looking for someone who would deliver on
Okay.
disabled population, because menstrual health is also very important aspect,
Important. Yeah. Sure.
uh, because this sexual and reproductive health is
Important. Important.
important. So we were looking for someone, but we couldn't find. I mean, because
Alright.
so maybe if you can take out some time, or someone from your team can address, take a presentation tomorrow, it would be very useful for everyone.
I'll have to look out, sir, because it's a very specific topic. I'll
Yeah,
find
ma'am.
out if someone can do it. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am,
Okay.
once
Thank
again
you. Thank you
joining
so
for
much
us.
once again. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me. It's a great honor also. Thank you, and wish everyone a very nice evening and a happy weekend. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We once again thank you on behalf of Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Also on behalf of all the participants, we wish you all the success. Dear participants, kindly fill up the feedback form. It's being shared in the chat box. It is mandatory for receiving your participation certificate. Participation certificate will be issued within 15 working days. There is website link also provided. You can visit the website and look for your participation certificate within 15 working days. Thank you everyone for joining us, and do join us for tomorrow international webinar on menstrual hygiene, health, sustainable development at 11 o'clock. As usual, our timings are 6 to 8 on weekdays, and on Sundays 11 to 5. So kindly do join and share our invitation links with your friends and colleagues so that everyone gets benefited with the knowledge. And if any one of you who are experts in your domain would like to make presentation, do contact us. My contact number there is there available in the flyers and the website and all the messages. So do contact us with your topic. So we will be happy to accommodate you and invite you. Everyone kindly fill up the feedback form, and thank you for joining us. Dear participants, quickly fill the feedback form. We are ending the meeting in 2 minutes. Participants who have filled the feedback form can leave the webinar platform. See you all. Join tomorrow morning. You can join with the same link at 11 o'clock. And everyone is requested to join Facebook group and Telegram channel so that you will receive regular updates, daily updates on Facebook group and Telegram channel.